Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Unplugged TV India. It's an honor and privilege for us to have you on board this session with us. For this session, today we have Joel Matthews, a political analyst, talk to us on the political crisis in Maharashtra. But before we begin, let me give you few latest updates regarding the political crisis. So there's a breathless political development is taking place in Maharashtra. In the latest update, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray on Monday handed over portfolios of 9 rebel ministers who are currently camping at a Guwahati hotel in Assam to other ministers. So let's begin with our interview. We have here Joel Matthews, a political analyst and have been monitoring the Maharashtra political crisis ever since it began and also have been connects himself to the Shiv Sena. So I guess we cannot have a better person than him to throw some lights on the recent crisis. Hello, Joel.
Hi, good evening, Alice.
Good evening. Let's begin the interview. So we'll start with let's tell us how you are connected with Shiv Sena and Uddhav Thackeray.
Well, I was born and brought up in Mumbai, and all my life I had stayed in Mumbai, having graduated my high school, and then when I went into my junior college, which was an RD National College in Bandra, I was closely associated with the Shiv Sena and learned a lot about them.
Okay. So right now, are you connected with any of Shiv Senics?
Not actively, though, but I'm keenly watching the developments happening in Maharashtra as it breaks.
Okay. So my first question to you is that what led to such a big revolt in the Shiv Senics?
Basically, this was something in the happening. This was something that was happening from a long time ago. As it went from the switching of the old guard to the new guard, what happened was many of the old Shiv Sainiks who were there were not able to adjust and adapt to the new guard. Now, when I mean that, it's very important for us to know the basis and the foundation on which the Shiv Sena was built. The Shiv Sena basically was built as party for the Marathi Manus. It was on Marathi Manus Asmita. That was the main plank on which the Shiv Sena was built. The Shiv Sena basically, Hindutva came to the Shiv Sena automatically. It was something natural. It was something in their DNA. Now, when Balasaheb Thackeray, the late Balasaheb Thackeray, when he was alive, the Shiv Sena was more towards a street party. It was a party on the streets, where it's workers, it's karyakartas, it's Shaka Pramukhs were on the streets and agitation. And that is how the party built up. But as of now, with the new guard, with Uddhav Thackerayji and Aditya Thackerayji taking over, basically
Okay.
what they have tried to do is infuse new life into Shiv Sena, bringing in technology, bringing in, like, for example, Aditya Thackeray, who's the Environment Minister of Maharashtra, has done a fabulous job. Be it the animal colony, saving the cutting of the trees for the car sheds and animal colony and stuff like that. So this concept is basically new to the Shiv Senics. They are used to, work for Maharashtrians and opening vada pav stalls for Maharashtrians and standing
Yeah.
up to the unions and stuff like that, you see. So
Yeah.
this has been kind of a culture shake and a culture shock for the normal Shiv Sainiks on the street.
So the second question, Eknath Shinde has said that when getting into NCP, the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray has completely neglected the Shiv Senics. So, is it possible that his allegations are true? Because that is what has led him to take such a big step.
It's ironic, isn't it? 2.5 years back, when for the first time, maybe the second time, I should say, when Shiv Sena put its foot down and said, "Hey, we are your partners. We got to share power as well. We're not going to be the junior partner all the while, and we're not going to be eaten up by you, by the BJP. I mean, and basically, how can you say that Uddhav Thackeray has neglected the Shiv Senics? Well, if it was so, Eknath Shinde was the number two person in the party. Now, being the chief minister, Uddhav Thackeray has got many responsibilities. He's got to take care of the entire state. There was a big COVID pandemic that happened, and I should say Uddhav Thackerayji has passed out with flying colors in that. But to keep the chef Senics together, That was actually Eknath Shinde's job. He was the number two in the party. And Uddhav Thackeray had given him all the authority and given him all the leeway in the party. So it was basically his job. He was the one in charge of the entire party. So to put the blame now back on Uddhav Thackeray is doesn't hold much water.
Okay. And what about Uddhav Thackeray? His emotional step that he has taken, he left Varsha and went back to Matoshri. Will it work?
Okay, basically, for that, you should understand the Shiv Sena. The Shiv Sena is not just a political party, it is basically a social movement that was that came about for the resurrection of the Maharashtrians, of the Mumbaikars, of the Marathi Manus. You get what I mean? Back in those days, the Shakas and the Shaka Pramukhs, they used to be so powerful. The Shaka Pramukh basically used to be like he was a police inspector, he was the sarpanch, or he was the leader in that area. People came to him with all kinds of problems even before they went to the police. Be it even marital problems between husband and wife, they would come to the Shaka Pramukh and he would sort it out. If you owed somebody money and he didn't pay you, they would come to the Shaka Pramukh. The Shaka Pramukh would sort it out. You know what I mean? And for
Yeah.
Shiv Senics, it was not all about power. It was all about their identity. And Matoshri was a place that represented their identity. Get what I mean?
Yeah.
And for Shivseniks, Matoshri is not just another house. It is not like Tentuglat Lane or anything. Matoshri is basically a religious place. It's revered among every Shivsenik. So when he leaves Varsha and when he comes to Matoshri, it's a call for unity among the Shivseniks together. Because they can have differences among them, but when it comes to Matoshri, it all comes together as one. You get what I mean? So that is why I believe Uddhav Thackerayji came back to Matoshri because it brings the Shiv Sainiks together. It gives them the identity together.
Okay. So will that affect the rebels in Guwahati?
You
As
can
per
already
news,
see.
they have the majority right now.
You can already see that it is affecting them in Guwahati. There's a reason why they're sitting in Guwahati. It's a different. It's one thing to sit in Guwahati. It's another thing to come back to Chowpatty. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
The MLAs who have won the election on the strength and the hard work and the sweat and blood of local Shiv Sainiks on the ground. Those Shiv Sainiks on the ground, they are still with Uddhav Thackeray. It is just that these people have been basically taken away to Guwahati. All right. We don't know how many of them are authentically there in Guwahati at the moment. Right. But if you see the ground Shiv Sainiks, they are strong hand in glove together with Uddhav Thackeray. And that's the reason, that's one of the main reasons why these MLAs are scared to come back to Maharashtra.
Right. But there's one side, Uddhav Thackeray is like emotional. He's playing emotionally. And on the other hand, Sanjay Raut and Aditya, they are challenging these MLAs.
Well, basically, you got to speak to them in the language they understand. You get what I mean? And Shiv Sena has always been a confrontational party. We have not been people who's going to take down injustice done to them. They are going to give it back. And that's what Sanjay Raut and Aditya Thackeray are doing, basically. They are sending a signal to the rebel MLAs that, hey, listen, we're not going to take it down. All right? You want to play this? We'll play back. And that's politics, isn't it?
Okay. And
But
what
if
is your take on
sorry, and just to add one more point inside this, at this moment, the person who's sitting on the driving seat and who's driving this right now is basically Sharad Pawar. So Sharad Pawar must have advised to the Thackeray that get your party together first. We'll look after the MLAs once they come back. We'll look after the floor of the house once the MLAs come back. But what's most important right now is take care of the party. Get the house united one more time.
what is your take on rumors about Bharatiya Janata Party's involvement in the rebel game? So there are because there are news that Devendra Fadnavis have visited Guwahati and met Shinde.
I mean, it's no secret, right? The BJP is behind this. If not, why would they be in BJP ruled states in Gujarat or in Guwahati? right? And it's very important for the BJP to come back in power in Maharashtra because Karnataka elections are going on, and the BMC elections are coming up now. The BMC has the biggest budget of any municipality in the whole of Asia. Get what I mean? So controlling BMC is very, very important for them. Now, if you notice in the previous elections, Devendra Fadnavis was in charge of the Goa elections and he delivered Goa for the BJP. So there's a high possibility that they may deploy Devendra Fadnavis in Karnataka as well. So for Devendra Fadnavis to come back to power as a chief minister is very, very crucial. So yeah, you must be in no man's land to think that BJP is not behind this.
Okay. So, in whole this Maharashtra turmoil, this NCP, BJP, and all that, where do the citizens stand, the voters?
That's the cruel joke played on the voters, right? First, you vote a party and you vote your MLA because that's the person who's got the ticket in your area. And then a year, 2 years later, suddenly that fella decides, oh my God, my party doesn't stand for whatever reason and shifts party. And then you are forced to be in another government. What happened to Eknath Shinde 2.5 years back? It was this Eknath Shinde who was going airport to airport, bringing back all the NCP leaders that the BJP wanted to take away. It was this Eknath Shinde that was in the hotel taking the pledge that we will be together and stuff like that. Did he forget Hindutva then? Or did he learn Hindutva now? I mean, what's going on, right? So this is not about any ideology or Hindutva or anything like that. Bottom line story, right?
Hmm.
Eknath Shinde knows if he doesn't go with the BJP, there's going to be the ED, CBI, and there's going to be other agencies behind his back. And that's the bottom line, basically. Nothing more, nothing less.
So, let's consider this scenario. If Uddhav Thackeray agrees to these Eknath Shinde Sena's demands, that they demand to join BJP again, is it possible? Matlab,
Correct.
what is
Now,
important
now,
for Uddhav Thackeray?
now, they cannot join the BJP. That's impossible because it is the local Shiv Sainiks that have fought on the ground and made them win. Right? So if they go and merge with BJP, like how Jyotiraditya Scindia did in Madhya Pradesh or how it happened in Karnataka, right? These guys know that they would have to stand for a by-election then, and none of them want to do that because they know they lose big time. So basically, the options in front of them are two things. Number one is maybe they might try to take over Shiv Sena. If they can't, they might try to align together with Raj Thackeray's Maharashtra Nirman Sena because Raj Thackeray is also the uh, nephew of Balasaheb Thackeray, and that's the route they might go, and that's the route I see they are going. But joining BJP, they won't because, first of all, they're not going to get the status that they had in Shiv Sena in the BJP because BJP already has their leaders and their cadre in Maharashtra. Eknath Shinde is not tomorrow going to be the number two person in BJP in Maharashtra. It's not going to happen. So it doesn't make sense for them to even join the BJP, right? Either they are going to take over the Shiv Sena, but if the Shiv Sena is able to get back at least 3 to 4 MLAs back because they need 36 MLAs to squirt the anti-defection law. So if Shiv Sena can take back about 3 to 4 MLAs, then they have no choice but either to join Republic Party or Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, MNS or stuff like that.
Okay. So let's sum up with the interview. My last question to you is looking at the current scenario, what are the possibilities in coming days? Will the Guwahati rebels land up in Mumbai?
Well, they have no choice. It's just a matter of time. They have to come back to Mumbai. You can say whatever you want in Guwahati, right? The actual position will be known when you're in the floor of the house, and that is in Maharashtra, in the Vidhan Sabha in Maharashtra. So, yes, exciting days ahead, uncertain days ahead. We don't know what is in store, whether these rebels are going to come back and some of them are going to defect from here and come back to Uddhav Thackeray. What's going to happen? The game numbers are only going to start once these rebels come back from Guwahati. You can talk to the moon and the stars in Guwahati, but it doesn't hold much water. You need to come back to Maharashtra in the Vidhan Sabha. That's when the real test is going to happen.
Okay. So thank you, Joel. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure
Uh,
being with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.